Good afternoon and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of USC and Southern California. I'm Sophia Ainsworth and we're coming to you live from Studio B and USC's Annenberg Media Center.
And I'm Michael Kahn. It's Wednesday, October 16th. On today's show, the family of the Menendez Brothers gathered outside of an LA courthouse, a new exhibition opens this Sunday at LACMA, and the city commemorates 30 years since a historic march against Proposition 137. All that and more
from Where We Are. But first, here's today's headlines.
Former One Direction band member Liam Payne was reported dead earlier today after suffering a 3-story fall from his hotel room balcony in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Investigation into the circumstances of his passing have begun. The fall has not yet been confirmed as intentional or accidental. The 31-year-old music artist has been seen acting erratically earlier in the day by witnesses in the area. Fans have already begun mourning his loss on social media.
The Catholic Archdiocese of LA has agreed to an $880 million settlement surrounding child sex abuse claims filed against the church. Over 1,300 alleged victim claims were settled today, with the attorneys calling this the largest single child sex abuse settlement. In 2007, the LA Archdiocese paid $660 million to settle claims from 500 alleged victims.
Italy has passed an anti-surrogacy law preventing couples from seeking surrogacy abroad. This law is seen as an attempt by the conservative government to target LGBTQ+ couples who are not allowed to adopt in Italy. Even couples seeking surrogacy in countries like the US or Canada may face fines and up to 2 years in prison. With adoption and surrogacy being unavailable to same-sex couples, critics have spoken out against this ban.
Over 10 million pounds of meat have been recalled from the shelves of grocery store chains Costco, Target, Walmart, Kroger, and Trader Joe's following a mass listeria outbreak. The poultry production plant located in Durant, Oklahoma, operated by family-owned company Bruce Pack, was flagged on October 9th of this year. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention has not yet formally launched an investigation. The U.S. Department of Agriculture instead urges consumers to review their prepackaged protein products and dispose of any items marked to have been produced in July.
How do you face those council members when going to work if they're all saying it's not tenable for him to come back?
I have to repair those relationships and regain the trust of my colleagues.
That was Councilman Kevin De Leon in 2022 responding to reporters regarding his re-election campaign following his participation in a leaked racist conversation. 2 years after the audio leak involving former Council President Nuri Martinez and Council members Kevin De Leon, Gil Cedillo, and Ron Herrera, the LA City Attorney has decided to not press charges against 2 people involved in the unlawful recording. This 2022 leak led to the resignation of Nuri Martinez and Ron Herrera following protests and statements from politicians, including President Biden.
The Sweat Tour, starring Charli XCX and Troye Sivan, will perform its final sold-out LA show tonight at the Kia Forum. Night 1 featured surprise guests Kesha and Tate McRae, and fans are eager to see who will join the iconic duo on stage tonight. Nearly a dozen family members called for the release of Erik and Lyle Menendez earlier today outside the Los Angeles courthouse. Annenberg Media's Paige Colazzo has the story.
Brothers Erik and Lyle Menendez fatally shot their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, on August 20th, 1989. The following year, their arrest sparked a trial that captivated the nation. Public interest, coupled with new evidence of the letter Erik wrote to his cousin detailing the sexual abuse months before the murders unfolded, prompted the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office to open up a new investigation into the Menendez case. Interest has only heightened since their 1996 life sentence convictions, even more so because of the release of the Menendez Brothers documentary with audio from Erik and Lyle, and the recent criticism of producer Ryan Murphy's Netflix series, Monsters, which attempted to retell the brothers' story. While incarcerated for over 3 decades, the Menendez brothers have obtained multiple college degrees, got married, and even counseled other inmates who have experienced sexual abuse. This has led many people to believe that at their core, they are good people. Earlier today, close to a dozen of their family members held a press conference outside the Los Angeles courthouse calling for the release of Erik and Lyle. Ana Maria Baralt, niece of Jose Menendez, touched on the shift in the societal conversation surrounding abuse.
If Lyle and Erik's case were heard today, with the understanding we now have about abuse and PTSD, there is no doubt in my mind that their sentencing would have been very different.
Annenberg Media's Jake Petroff spoke to conference attendees about what compelled them to come to the courthouse.
What I see in this case is these guys have really done their time. They've openly admitted that yes, they did the crime, and we are all very aware of that. And coming from a background of being a victim myself, we didn't talk about this in the 80s. We didn't talk about this in the 90s.
That was Shannon Fox, a woman who calls herself a, quote, crime sleuth and has been intently following this case since 1989 from the perspective of an abuse victim. She drove over an hour to pledge her support for Erik and Lyle today. Todd Williver, a New Jersey native who happened to be in town, decided to check it out.
So it was on the news, and I was following it, and we watched a Netflix series, and just watching everything that they went through, that we figured we'd come down here and see what was going on with this, with the rally.
Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon made a statement hours after the family's press conference that the decision on the case should be coming in the next 10 days. For Annenberg Media, I'm Paige Colazzo.
How did we get here? Are we alone? Where are we going? These questions and more are the subject of Los Angeles County Museum of Art, known as LACMA's newest exhibition into culture, religion, and even the cosmos. Matthew Royer has the story.
Hear this 1918 recording of the Tongva people, overlaid with the singing of two contemporary Tongva, Mercedes Dorame and her daughter. Dorame circles her round canvas painted with acrylic and decorated with concrete bowls, shells, and salt crystals. Planet-like starstones float above the canvas, suspended in air by yarn, shifting the viewer's gaze up toward the cosmos. Dorame is a Tongva artist whose work Portal for Tovangar is featured in the museum's exhibition Mapping the Infinite, Cosmologies Across Cultures, opening Sunday.
The title comes from the idea that there's so many layers of experience and existence within our city, within this city. And, my ancestry as a Tongva person, a first person of Los Angeles, is kind of at the base level of that, but how do we kind of vertically experience all these other realms?
The piece represents the connection Tongva people, the indigenous people of the Los Angeles basin, have with the land, the natural world, and cosmology. The exhibit doesn't just explore cosmology in Los Angeles. Exhibit curator Stephen Little says the project features nearly 200 pieces of art and relics from roughly 15 different cultures. From Neolithic Europe to Mesopotamia to the Andes to East Asia, thousands of perspectives are represented in how the cosmos, religion, and culture evolved over time. In order to develop a program that explores the intersection of science and art, LACMA entrusted researchers at Carnegie Observatories and the Griffith Observatory to honor the 100th year anniversary of Edwin Hubble's discovery of galaxies outside of the Milky Way. Carnegie's interim president, John Mulcahy, says to mark the occasion, his observatory lent Hubble's glass plate negative he took of the discovery.
So this is the first time this has been publicly viewed, I don't know, in many, many decades. I've been at Carnegie 30 years. I've only seen the plate twice, and I'm the boss. It is the plate that really discovered the universe.
Mulcahy says he believes that by connecting the sciences with the arts, more people will become involved with cosmology and astrology. The exhibition aims to explore questions between the two realms. Little says he hopes visitors come away with the experience understanding how different yet alike so many cultures are.
Well, it's about being itself and existence, the origin of the universe, the age of the universe, the structure of the universe, the place of human beings in the universe. Does that have meaning? Or perhaps it doesn't have meaning? Those are the kinds of questions I think the exhibition raises. And if people take those questions away, I'll be thrilled.
Visitors can see Mapping the Infinite from Sunday through March 2nd. Students within LA County can also receive a $4 discount on their ticket if they show their ID. Whether it's art, religion, culture, or looking toward the stars, Dorame says LACMA's newest exhibition, if anything, should reconnect Angelenos with the land and the skies around them.
It's not only in the present, but it goes deeper into all the ways that this earth and the land here has existed, and the people who've cared for it for so long and still do.
Art and science coming together for the sake of the earth and the heavens. For Annenberg Media, I'm Matthew Royer.
The USC bus system aims to offer reliable transportation for students, staff, faculty, and the local community. But at least on one bus, it's hard to get a seat. For more on the story, here's Spring Lee.
When it comes to deciding on a place to rent, many considers access to reliable transportation to school or work. This was definitely the case for Louis Wang, a master's student in USC's Communication Data Science program.
When I choose where to live in LA, nearing next to the bus route is one of my biggest considerations.
Wang considers the bus routes provided by USC's transportation. This helps her choose an apartment in downtown LA, 1 block away from the USC Tower. It takes her 3 minutes to walk from her apartment to the SC Tower bus stop. But she soon learned the bus often has fewer seats than riders.
There are not many seats for students to take the bus, so I usually have to take metro or take Uber to the campus because there are no seats for me.
Wang is not the only one experiencing problems with the SC Tower to University Park campus bus route. Lin Zhou is a current student in the Marshall School of Business. She lives in downtown LA and also relies on ride-sharing apps for her commute, especially at times when the bus is unreliable.
They come and they just disappear in front of you. They will stop, but they will not let you in.
When that happens, she has no other choice.
Wait for the next, yeah.
Zhou then has to wait on the sidewalk until the next bus comes in half an hour. Marcus Arvizu is the senior manager of transit operations for USC Transportation. He gives this reason for the overcrowding problem. The SC Tower bus is only for students, faculty, and staff going to and from the SC Tower, not intended for those who live nearby.
So our messages try to be as consistent as possible, that the purpose is not necessarily to give people a ride who live in the area. It's meant to give people a ride who have business or academic purposes at that building, if that makes sense.
But that is not made clear on the bus schedule or USC's transportation page. On the USC Buses About page, the bus system's purpose is described as the following. Whether you are commuting to work, getting around campus between classes, or just exploring the wider Los Angeles community, our bus system makes it easy. Students and faculty who found housing in the DPS area north of University Park campus can rely on the C route for their commute. But what about those who live in downtown? The Transportation Office suggests the Student U-Pass program, which allows registered USC students free and unlimited rides on most of LA Metro's rail and bus lines. So if you can't catch a USC bus, you can catch a public one. For Annenberg Media, I'm Spring Lee.
I'm Sophia Ainsworth. We're glad you're with us for From Where We Are.
And I'm Michael Kahn. It's 16 minutes past the hour. Coming up, we'll take you inside the celebrations of Levy Library turning 30. Today, the Consulate General of Mexico in Los Angeles hosted an event to commemorate the 30th anniversary march against California's Proposition 187. Mia Nunez has the story.
Proposition 187 was an initiative supported by then-Governor Pete Wilson and the state Republican Party. This prop was a response to an increase in unauthorized immigration from Mexico at the time. The prop would have denied immigrants from receiving a public education, non-emergency public health care, or any other public social service. Additionally, it would have turned every school, healthcare facility, and their employees into de facto immigration agents who were obligated to report the status of these immigrants to federal authorities. On October 16, 1994, about 70,000 protesters gathered at Los Angeles City Hall to show how they were against Prop 187. During the event today, an emblematic photograph from the march was unveiled and will permanently be displayed with a commemorative plaque. The Consul General of Mexico and Mayor Karen Bass presided over the ceremony. Mexico's Consul General in Los Angeles, Ambassador Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez, talked about the impact of the march.
The March of October 16, 1994, marked a profound awakening for the Mexican immigrant community and their U.S.-born children. It marked the kickoff of a decades-long campaign of mobilizing the Latino vote in order to transform California's political and social landscape, the effects of which are still felt today.
While the prop did pass, federal courts ultimately stopped it. It never took effect, with the exception of 2 penal code provisions that punished the forging, counterfeiting, distributing, or selling of citizenship and immigration documents. Prop 187 ultimately pushed many immigrants and their families to get involved and vote. Here is the Consul General again.
The measure mobilized thousands of people within the Mexican, American, and immigrant communities who saw it not only as an anti-immigrant effort, but rather as an anti-Mexican initiative that sought to create division and fear among potential voters. A distinctive feature of the photograph we are about to unveil today is the presence of many Mexican flags among those marching.
Juan Jose Gutierrez, the executive director of the Full Rights for Immigration Coalition, spoke about the impact of the plaque in the photograph.
Millions of people come to the consulate every day, and in this area, they receive various services, so they have to go through here. And as they're waiting for their services, for their documents, there's no question that they're going to go by here, they're going to see the photo, they're going to see the plaque, and they're going to want to know what the hell is that about, right? Why are people marching? And then they're going to read the plaque, and they're going to be reminded that 30 years ago, our community said enough.
The impact of Prop 187 is still felt in California's Mexican-American community today. For Annenberg Media, I'm Mia Nunez.
A popular USC library celebrates a special birthday today. For more on the story, here's Malcolm Caminero.
A handful of marching band members paraded toward the steps of Levy Library to commemorate its 30th birthday. The event looked to highlight many of the key features the building has, including the Amison Lab, which specializes in multidisciplinary learning, the Shoah Foundation, which reserves and records testimony from survivors of genocide, and the library's most important role of being the place where students can cram study before a test. The Dean of USC Libraries, Melissa Just, kicked off the event discussing what makes Levy Library unique.
A groundbreaking, technologically advanced library that was somewhat unique across the world. And it brought USC students and faculty into what is the modern times with the internet and the World Wide Web and all of the things that we take for granted today.
USC President Carol Folt also made an appearance, addressing the crowd, describing the role libraries played in her childhood.
Probably my favorite place to go as a kid was to go to the library. That was where the magic took place and where you got to really learn and dream and think about the things that are wonderful.
During Folt's address, a banner reading USC Funds Genocide was held up by a group of protesters who were standing next to the event. Not long after, chanting ensued. As the event came to a close, the voices of protesters carried on, backdropped by the celebration of Levy. For Annenberg Media, I'm Malcolm Caminero.
Annenberg graduate students have the opportunity to learn about how media operates across the pond. Our producer, Malcolm Caminero, spoke with our very own Alicia Alvarez.
We know you're in Brussels right now. Can you kind of tell us what it's been like so far?
Yeah, so I'm out here visiting the European Union on a reporter's trip with USC, and it's been fantastic. I've talked to about half a dozen delegates learning about what they do exactly within their conventions and Parliament and such, as well as the issues that they're concerned about, the American election, Ukraine. So it's been really enlightening.
That's awesome. And what have you been up to over the last few days?
So I've been in and out of meetings in various European Union buildings, especially with the External Action Service, which really focuses on foreign countries such as the U.S. and their allies. And just kind of talking with delegates, sitting down, hearing them. Unfortunately, a lot of it's off the record, but it has been really enlightening with how Europeans see the rest of the world and how they see the U.S. And then, whenever I get a moment to breathe, we do go out and go shopping and experience some of the Belgian culture.
That's fair. Yeah, a little work hard, play hard. That's what's up. I did have a question on kind of differences you've noticed maybe between media in the States versus media in Brussels and kind of how they operate.
Absolutely. So they have had a lot of similar language and rhetoric surrounding a lot of the similar issues, such as the war in Ukraine and the war in Gaza currently. But there's a large difference, especially with politicians. They're much more open with the media, and it's a lot more accessible, where in the U.S. it seems like there's almost blockades. So it's been interesting. They kind of have a hand-in-hand relationship with their medias out here. A lot of press releases are constant. They have a press briefing every single day at midday that's open to all accredited journalists. So it's definitely more of a collaborative event rather than a blockaded, very hush-hush, secretive kind of society.
Interesting. Okay, so a little bit more give and take between their media and their politicians as opposed to media having to go through like media relations or PR people and stuff like that.
Very much so. I've noticed that, especially with journalists that attend the press briefings, often they know them by name. There's a lot of mutual respect there and a lot of understanding that I don't think is as prevalent in the U.S.
That's fair. Okay, good to know. How do you feel, sort of as a reporter, how the panels are prepping you maybe to report on international issues or kind of focus a little bit more on issues that concern EU and EU voters?
They have been really enlightening. It is primarily focused on the European Union because, they're focused on their citizens and making sure that they're being represented and taken care of. So I think hearing their rhetoric and kind of how they focus on different things such as climate change and the actions they're bringing about that has been enlightening, whereas in the U.S., we're a bit scattered. With these delegates, they've really focused on creating that relationship with reporters to make sure that these issues are being reported upon. I think the biggest things beyond the conflicts we're seeing around the world right now is definitely climate change. And there's a lot of concern about the upcoming U.S. election and how that's going to impact relationships between the U.S. and the EU.
Makes sense. And are there any panels maybe upcoming for the second half of the trip that you're really interested in hearing from and learning more about?
So there is an upcoming summit tomorrow afternoon or evening with Gulf countries, so a lot of countries from the Middle East. Unfortunately, I wasn't accredited for that in time, but we do have another USC journalist attending, so I'm interested to hear her experience. President Zelensky from Ukraine is also going to be here tomorrow. We don't know exactly what for just yet, but we're trying to catch a glimpse to see if we can catch him on any panels. Tomorrow, we're mostly focused in the Parliament, so it's a lot more of how the EU governs and how they make decisions. So it's less of a media focus and more of the mechanics of the countries.
That's cool. I like that during the trip you're able to get both the technical side of kind of how the EU operates within Parliament and different sections of it, while also being to be able to get the practical side, both as a reporter and as a journalist, which kind of leads into my final question, which would be, as a student journalist, what are some of your takeaways, kind of being able to learn from this trip and hopefully using that in your reporting moving forward?
It's been really enlightening seeing how available it is for foreigners, whether it's foreign dignitaries or foreign journalists, to come out and report. It's a very collaborative type of atmosphere. So I think learning that exposed me to a whole new world of journalism outside of the U.S. and also seeing how journalists interact with these politicians in respectful and communicative ways every day creates relationships is really enlightening for American journalists, that we can try to start to implement that to create more of a dialogue between citizens and politicians that don't just happen when there's an upcoming election.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I think it'd be smart for the U.S. to adapt some of the ways that their media sort of reacts between themselves and politicians. Thank you very much for being with us, Alicia, and good luck on the rest of the trip.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that's all we have time for on today's From Where We Are. Isaac Vargas and Sada Mahmoud were the executive producers of today's show. Malcolm Caminero produced today's show. We also had help from Aubrey Jones and Jake Petroff.
Our board operator is Grayson Solomon. Our live stream managers are Gigi Lee and Derek Renfro composed our theme music. Catch us live on YouTube at Annenberg Radio News Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Subscribe to From Where We Are wherever you're listening right now. Finally, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Annenberg Radio.
I'm Sophia Ainsworth.
And I'm Michael Kahn. From all of us at Annenberg Radio, shout out Non Neon Sound, wherever you are, we hope you'll join us again for
From Where We Are. Well, Michael, the next time I'll see you will be Halloween Eve. What candy are you most looking forward to?
Okay, so a little bit controversial, but I actually don't like chocolate. So my Halloween candy selection is a little limited, but I would have to go with like Sour Patch Kids, anything sour. What about you?
Well, not liking chocolate is definitely a hot take. My favorite candy is probably candy corn.
Ooh, year round or just during Halloween time?
As much as possible.